Hi everybody, this is Agnes from Sediment, and today let's taste Pinot Noir from 4 different winemaking regions to see whether it can truly reflect its terroir. Pinot Noir is probably one of the most loved, praised and even deified grape varieties. Words often used to describe its characteristics and flavors include hauntingly beautiful, seductively perfumed and divinely scented. Its ability to express its place of origin, and I mean not just across different winemaking countries and regions, but even the most subtle differences between 2 neighboring plots, is widely praised and can feel almost spooky. It is a grape that sparks heated discussions amongst dedicated fans and professionals alike. So today I'm going to blind taste 4 Pinot Noirs from different origins to see if what we read about it holds true. Few things for certain. Well, I should not say that, because whenever I declare that something is unquestionable, I am very soon to be proven wrong. So few things rarely change with Pinot Noir. It is a grape variety with thin skins, which means it doesn't really produce deeply colored, inky wines. Because of the thin skins, its tannin levels will usually be moderate, but in the hands of skillful winemaker, those tannins will be finely grained and silky. Pinot Noir also offers fresh, elevated acidity, often accompanied by bright, zesty red fruit flavors. It is widely accepted with little objection from any side that the best Pinot Noirs come from Burgundy, more specifically Côte d'Or. Its climate, soils, and long history of understanding and adapting to the intricacies of the grape have likely earned it this title. However, I am a firm believer that just as important as the origin is the skill of the viticulturist and winemaker who work with the grape. Treat this grape poorly and it will repay you with uninteresting, forgettable and plain wine. There is a reason why even within a single cru vineyard with the same exposure and soil composition, the quality can vary drastically between neighboring wines. It's because they don't have the same dedicated team working on them. And many of you know, or at least have heard, that grower or estate makes a big difference when we are in Burgundy. It is also fascinating that Pinot Noir is subject to so many different winemaking techniques: pre-fermentation, cold soak, whole bunch or carbonic fermentation, stem inclusion, and different fermentation temperatures. And of course, we cannot forget the use of oak, which Pinot Noir has an affinity to. Despite all this, many argue that it still retains enough character for knowledgeable, skilled tasters to identify its origin, sometimes even down to a single vineyard with a high degree of certainty. Today, I have selected 4 different Pinot Noirs from very distinct winemaking regions. Pinot Noir prefers cool climate over hot, so all the wines are from cool to moderate regions. Because of this, I am guessing it will not be lower acidity or higher alcohol that will define the differences between them. The wines are from Oregon, USA, Central Otago, New Zealand, Baden, Germany, and of course for many, the epitome of Pinot Noir, Burgundy, France. So let's taste these wines blind to see whether or not Pinot Noir is truly as terroir reflective as wine professionals and dedicated fans claim it to be. Additionally, I have chosen wines at a similar price point, around 60 euros depending on the market, so we can also have a sneak peek at which region performs the best at this price level. Shall we? As always, these wines were poured by my cameraman, so I don't know which one is which. Let's start wine number 1. As expected from Pinot Noir, this is medium color intensity, and on the nose it shows really bright and lovely fruit. It is quite a zesty type of fruit, red berries, cherries, maybe even like red rhubarb, like sour kind of fruit. But there's a lot of earthiness to it. There's this Earl Grey hint, black earth, leather. And it might be coming from neutral oak, but I also feel a bit of that greenness, that tea leaf kind of character that might be coming from use of stems. Not a lot, but it kind of gives that fermented tea depth. Let's taste it. Okay, the acidity is really elevated, lively, bright, It's definitely juicy and energetic wine. The tannin here is actually quite high for Pinot Noir grapes, so I would say it's medium plus, and it is really chewy. I'm not sure where it's coming from, but the brightness of the fruit would indicate that it's either from New Zealand or United States. But let's move to wine number 2. All right, so this is again medium, maybe slightly lighter in color than the previous wine. And on the nose, it shows a bit more resolved fruit. I mean, these wines have been in the glasses for a while now, so maybe this is the case, but sometimes that kind of crushed, resolved, or slightly dusted fruit characters I link with Europe. And this seems shyer. There are these tiny strawberries, wild raspberries, you know, those are completely different than the ones that you find in your garden. And there are layers of some earthiness, sweet toast, toasted nuts. But fruit really shines in this wine. Let's taste it. This wine also shows elevated, lively acidity, but it is accompanied by these bright, sour cherries and raspberries and strawberries. Body-wise, it seems lighter. The tannins are really tiny and beautifully, almost velvety, playing on the palate. And to be completely honest, this wine could go either way. It shows that brightness of the fruit that I would expect maybe from Americas or New Zealand or Australia. But it also shows that earthiness that I would expect more from Europe. So I have to taste next 2 wines to come to my final conclusion. Wine number 3. Oh, wow. This wine is so intense. Wow, the nose, it's just so intense. I wouldn't be surprised if you, through camera, could feel the nose here. It is so intense. It is really ripe fruit. It is bursting fruit. It is almost, you know, I'm about to burst and you know, all that kind of juices will come down. But not there yet. And it seems like those big black cherries and strawberries, you know, right at the end of the harvest when everything is so luscious and sweet. This is what this nose shows you. There's also some toastiness from oak, I'm guessing. And by the way, this is a bit deeper in color as well than the wines before. This type of style I usually link with Germany. They make different style wines from Pinot Noir naturally, as every winemaking country. But I think the very best usually come from a very good exposure, and there's a lot of concentration. I haven't tasted it yet, so let's taste. On the palate, it also shows a lot of fruit. It is really ripe type of fruit. The tannins here are beautifully done. They are chewier than for the wine number 2, less chewy than with wine number 1. And I mean, this wine seems ripe, but the tannins are a bit kind of, they give the grip. And this is something I would expect from German Pinot Noir. So with this one, I would be quite certain. But we don't know yet. So let's move to wine number 4. Similarly as with wine number 3, this shows a bit deeper color. So we have 2 groups here. Wine number 1 and 2 were lighter in color, and wine number 3 and 4 were deeper in color. And nose-wise, this one is crushed fruits, dusted fruits, really sweet type of fruit though. And there's also some hint of peppermint, but very, very tiny, not in a way that it bothers you, more in a way that it adds complexity or layer. It also offers some sweet toastiness, something that you would expect, like those toasted almonds. Let's taste it. All right, this wine on the palate seems almost sweet, but sweet in a way that it is a sweet tasting fruit, really ripe fruit. And tannins, they're just so tiny, beautifully, almost melted tannins, just lovely incorporated within the wine. It is quite big wine and dense wine. It offers a lot. When I started to taste this wine on the nose, it brought me to Europe. But now when I tasted it, the palate, it really seemed either New Zealand or Americas, I would want to take it to Oregon because of how luscious almost it felt on the palate. So my final conclusion would be that this wine number 4, is coming from Oregon, United States. And that leaves wine number 1 from Central Otago, New Zealand. Wine number 2, that tricky, shy, hiding style of wine must be France. And wine number 3, I was quite certain it was from Germany. And shall we reveal the wines and give the points? Okay, wine number 1. I said it was coming from Central Otago. I think it was really beautiful wine. It was quite layered, fresh, zesty, beautiful acidity. I think this wine could keep for a long time, and I will give it 94 points. I really enjoyed it. Okay, I'm wrong. So, I'm confused. I don't know. So this is actually Oregon. If you remember last year at Wine Spectator's Top 100, it was one of the wines from this estate that was included in the top 10, if I'm not mistaken. So it is a good, really good producer. And apparently I have misjudged the wine. So this is 2017 Resonance Single Vineyard Resonance Pinot Noir from Oregon. Nice, I really liked it. 94 points. All right, wine number 2, and now I'm really scared. I said it was Burgundy, dear God. I said it was Burgundy, and let's reveal it. I think this wine changed in the glass, and I felt like it was something that I needed to chase, and I actually was kind of spending a lot of time smelling it and tasting it. And yeah, sometimes that's something that Burgundy does to you. So I hope I'm not wrong here, and I will give this wine 90. I actually want to give it 94 points as well. I think it deserves it. Okay, good to know. So this is Albert Grivault. It is actually a very well-known producer for their white wines, and I think this is the only red wine label they do, and it is a Premier Cru Pommard. And surprisingly, for Pommard, it had a really light, really beautiful tannin structure. You know, sometimes you expect Pommard to be a bit more chunkier and full-bodied and maybe a bit even rustic. This had no rusticity in it at all. It was really lovely, beautifully made wine. Let's move to wine number 3 I was quite certain about. So, I do believe that this is Baden, Germany, and I will give this wine 93 points. Okay, so it is 2020 Salwey Spatburgunder from Single Vineyard, Kirchberg, and I think it was really beautiful. It was completely different style-wise from all of them. It was just so dense and so fruit-driven. So let's move to wine number 4. So this leaves it to be from Central Otago, New Zealand. I actually misplaced it. I thought it was from Oregon. And I will give this wine 92 points. I think it was really beautiful, but the palate, it just threw me away. That sweetness, that ripeness on the palate, it was just something new to me. And it is actually quite well-known producer, Cloudy Bay, Wahi. Is the name of this Pinot Noir from Central Otago, New Zealand. Apparently, Te Wahi means the place from Maori language, and that really kind of makes sense what we are doing here, because it is the place what Pinot Noir translates in the glass, the terroir. I was probably not the most skillful of the wine professionals here, as I could not place every single Pinot Noir in its origin. But I am happy because I think I did not do that bad, and at least I knew my Baden and France. But we're not done with Pinot Noir yet. I actually made another video specifically focusing only on Pinot Noir from Burgundy, tasting different quality levels, so make sure to watch that one next.